We're good. We're on. So, it is Halloween. Yes, it is almost late into the night of Halloween. It's almost 8 o'clock, making it late into the night. But we are going to do something fun. We're going to read some scary stories. And then after every scary story, we're going to read one of these jokes off these Laffy Taffies.
Yeah, I'm going to read one too.
Yes, we're both going to read one. We're going to take turns doing that. So one, I gotta get the candy. Actually, no, we can put it in here and then pick a random one. I've read some of the jokes. Me, Mom, and Dad were sitting in their room picking the Laffy Taffies out just to read the jokes. Because I don't like Laffy Taffy. Okay, so we are gonna find some scary stories to read off of Scary for Kids, where I've been getting 95% of my stories. No, that's a commercial for some
Japanese stories.
Yeah, but those ones get really scary, and you hate really scary things.
What about Halloween stories?
True. We can do that. Let me find those, actually. I know they have... There they are. Yes. Give it a minute to load. So while that loads, we can read one of the jokes in here. Delicious. All right. Don't die. You want me to button your sleeves? What... Oh, how do birds chat with each other? They're not going to see your arm. Oh my gosh, you're such a baby. All right. And the answer to how do birds chat with each other? Tweets.
I knew it was a bit stupid. Don't watch that.
Yes. Okay, I'm back. I'll save the other joke for the next one. All right. I don't know what ones I haven't read. I don't think I've read Tap, Tap, Tap. Door. May left it open. I'm sure the cord doesn't go too far. Alright, this one's going to take 6 minutes to read, apparently. Okay, this is a scary Halloween story about a group of school children and a secret knock they hear. And there is a crazed murderer on the loose. I definitely haven't read this one. Have you?
No.
Good. So, all these stories apparently take place on Halloween. But they're all fake, so there's nothing to really be scared of. It went up my nose. I'm okay. So, it all happened many years ago in a town where at the time there was a little town of the mountains of Catalonia in Spain. I probably pronounced that wrong. But there was little more than a small square with a church, a park, a prison, and a school. And all the houses were clustered around the town and were very proud of their school, since it had been voted the best school in Providence. So, the morning of October 13th, Halloween, a class of students were doing arts and crafts in their classroom. Some were cutting skeletons out of paper, some were painting vampires, bats, and others were just drawing pumpkins. The students' age range was between 8 and 9. Their teacher was a beautiful young woman. I'm going to assume that's important to the rest of the story. And had been working at the school for a little less than a month. While the children were having fun preparing for the Halloween decorations, the teacher turned the radio on to listen to the weather. She was planning an organized outdoor Halloween party for the kids later and wanted to be sure it wouldn't rain. Suddenly, the forecast was interrupted by a news bulletin. The important announcement: a convicted murderer was and had escaped from the local prison and was on the loose. He was described as armed and dangerous, and to not attempt to apprehend him. The police would. The teacher rushed across the room, switched off the radio when she did not. Whatever, stains.
Oh.
She didn't want to alarm the children, but it was too late. The children heard the broadcast and were scared. So they all knew that the prison was near the school, and the teacher tried to reassure them that they didn't have to worry. A few minutes later, the school principal made an announcement and said, "Attention all teachers, we have been informed the police are dealing with a serious situation that is occurring in the town." What? And, I lost my place because you did that. that was occurring in the town. All the teachers were advised to lock the doors, the windows of their classroom, until the police get the situation under control. And so the teacher told the class to stay calm. She took her key out and locked the classroom door. She went around and closed every window, making sure they were secure and no one could get in. One little girl raised her hand and asked if she could go to the bathroom. The teacher didn't want to let her go, but the girl insisted. So the teacher finally, reluctantly, gave her permission to go to the toilet. After all, it was just unlikely that the murderer would be in the school. So she told the girl when she came back, she would give her a secret knock at the classroom door. The girl would. And that it was her and they could let her back. So the code was 3 taps and 2 scratches. The girl left to go to the bathroom, and the teacher locked the door again behind her. To take the children's mind off the scary situation, she started telling stories. After 20 minutes had passed, the girl had not returned, and the teacher began to worry. What would be taking her so long? Suddenly, they heard footsteps coming up the corridor. Everyone in the classroom froze. They heard the knock at the door and the 2 scratches. So they were all relieved and came back. The teacher took out her key, and one boy goes, "What if it's not her?" The teacher hesitated and put her key inches from the lock, and again heard the 3 taps and 2 scratches. It must be her. So she put the key in the door. Suddenly, the classroom burst open, with a tall man was standing there. The boy told her, "What if it's not her?" The boy called it. He was holding a knife in his right hand, and in his left hand had the little girl's severed head. So he killed her and apparently figured out their little code. The escaped murderer was in the classroom, smiling from ear to ear, because he's a creep. The children were trapped inside with him, and all they could hear in the corridors of the school were screams and terrors and shrieks of pain. In the chaos, the teacher managed to break a window and jump out. She barely escaped for her life and crawled to safety. The children, however, were not lucky. You'd think she would have protected the children. Okay. So they found a bunch of headless bodies, and they found the little girl's body in the bathroom stall. The prisoner had escaped, had been hiding in the toilets. When the little girl was asking for permission to go to the bathroom, he surprised her in the stall and forced her to tell him the password. When she did, he cut off her head. That's disgusting. The teacher was sent to a psychiatric hospital. She never really recovered from the incident and couldn't stop repeating over and over. Tap, tap, tap. Scratch, scratch. Ugh. School was abandoned and parents refused to send their children there again. There were too many bad memories. The school was left just the way it was when the murders occurred. And they said that if they visit the old school building and go to the classrooms, you can still see the blood on the walls. If you're brave enough, you can even go into the bathroom. Just tap 3 times and scratch 2 times on the door on the 3rd stall. Then it will open, and you will see the body of the headless little girl sitting on the toilet. That's disgusting.
So that we
I got another joke on this side.
and then I'll read the random one.
Okay, why did the imaginary woman wear lipstick? She was made up. Get it? Some of these are just stupid jokes, but they're super funny. I'm gonna leave this one out so we don't get it again. All
Then
right.
I picked the toy.
You'll pick one of these because you're gonna read the joke, and I'm gonna find another one.
Okay.
I think I've read Bubble Bath.
You have
I have. My tablet is
Is
connected
it-
from the internet.
from the man,
I have no idea.
the two who went in that acid.
She went into a bathtub full of acid.
Do they want me to read it or not yet?
Not yet.
It doesn't look at them.
You look at the jokes. You figure out which ones go
Where's
where.
the joke? Oh, there.
The jokes are on the top, and the answers are under the flaps. One second. It's connecting. It's going to take a minute. Oh, there we go. Yes, thank you. All right. That's Steffi. She's getting ready for bed, and she doesn't like it.
Okay.
This one might be the one I've already read, but
What?
I'm gonna read it again anyway. Bubble bath.
It's Jojo in the Acids. You read it.
Okay. So, just read this again. Okay, so a girl named Jennifer was sitting at her desk in her bedroom finishing up her homework. She had an exam the next day and needed to study. As she was searching for one of her school books, she received a text and a message on her phone. She didn't recognize the number, but the text read, "Take a bubble bath and go to bed. It's a school night. Mom." So the girl, brushing it aside, assumed that her mom just got out of her contacts. So she was all like, okay. She had already been planning to take a bath, so she didn't care. So she grabbed a clean towel and walked into the bathroom. She stopped in her tracks and was surprised that the bathtub had already been filled. She thought it was strange, but thought her mother filled it in advance and texted her. So, shrugging her shoulders, Jennifer got into the bathtub, and her whole body was submerged. And then she was aware of this burning sensation all over her body. And then her skin began to peel, showing flesh and bones. Disgusting. So then she got out, wrapped herself in her towel, attempted to, and everything started to be covered in blood. Ugh. And then she crawled into her bedroom, and then she got another text. And it read, "Next time, bathe in water." And she looks down her hall, and she hears and sees a tall, slender man in all black, laughing with a knife in one hand and a container of acid in the other. I've shared my opinion on this story. You don't bathe in a bath, you don't know who filled it. Especially since she was supposed to be home alone, which I failed to mention. But she was supposed to be home alone. So therefore, her mom didn't fill the tub. And she would have been aware of water running if her room was that close to the bathroom. Like, I can hear people running the water in here. On the other side here is the bathroom.
Do I read that one or that one?
That one.
What did the plate say to the cup?
What did the plate say to the cup?
Look like dinner's on me.
That's stupid. Don't read the other one yet. We gotta read another story
that
first.
one's funny.
This one's called The Candles. I know I haven't read this one yet. Oh, well, it won't let me click into that one. Apparently they don't have that one on there anymore. Okay, here we go. This one's called Click Clack. Right? This is a scary urban legend about a girl whose legs were cut off in a fatal car accident. It's called, also known as Click Clack Drag or Click Clack Slide or Chick Chick Boom. Those are the three names for this story.
Hey, Weston, when your turn to read do I read the story?
No, I got the stories. I like the stories. I could probably leave you reading the notes.
Oh.
So one day a mother and her son and daughter were shopping at a local mall. On their way home, they drove across the railroad tracks. While they were crossing the railroad tracks, the car got stuck. And suddenly, they saw a train coming in the distance. The mother started freaking out and was still struggling to get off the tracks. The train plunged straight into the car. The police were searching through the wreckage and found the dead body of the two children. That's sad. They also came across the severed legs of an adult woman. But the mother's top half was never found. So she was totally cut in half. Ugh. Shortly afterwards, a series of horrible murders occurred in the small town. All the victims were children in schoolyards. And rumors began to spread, and the kids talked about a monster they called Click Clack. They said that the ghost was the woman who had no legs. So according to the stories, she had really long fingernails and used them to drag herself around. So her name came from the click clack, the sound which was made by her nails when she was chasing you. The children warned others to stay indoors after dark. According to the legend, Click Clack would walk the streets after 6 p.m. looking for children to kill. If she caught them, she would tear them in half. Soon the children of the town knew the legend of Click Clack and made sure to lock all their doors and windows in their house by evening. So one day, a little girl was playing in her backyard when her mother came out and told her she had to go to the shop to buy 3 bottles of milk. The girl went on the errand and carefully planned to get home before 6 because she had heard that was the time when Click Clack came out. When she reached the local shop, the girl discovered they were all out of milk. She had to go to several shops to find 3 bottles of milk. On the way home, the girl looked at her watch. The time was 3:52. She looked around and saw her parents hurried, calling their children indoors, nervously locking the front doors. She started running, almost reached her street when she heard a strange noise. Click, clack, slide, and click, clack, drag in that pattern. She turned around the streets, but the street was empty. She increased her pace, but the sound seemed to follow her. She ran as fast as she could until she reached her house. She started pounding on the door. The girl's mom had fallen asleep and the door was locked. The curtains were closed, and all of a sudden the pounding stopped. A few minutes later, the mother woke up and went to the front door. When she opened it, she looked down and screamed at the sight. Written on the doorstep in blood was, "Mom, why didn't you open the door?" The girl was never seen again.
I thought the mom went to errands.
Nope, the girl ran the errands for her mother.
Oh, I thought the whole time the mother.
I really thought the mom went with the daughter, but apparently the daughter went by herself. Which one is stupid on the mom's part. You don't let your children go to the
And
store by
sorry for doing
themselves.
that. There's too much air in here.
I know. That's super loud.
What am I? An emu and a smiley face.
An emo and a smiley face? I don't know.
What's that?
An emoji.
It is.
An emo and a smiley face. Oh, it makes an emoji. Emoji. Emu. Emoji. Okay. Another story. Oh, this is going to be fun. These are the stories I never got around to that I've been waiting to read. Okay. This one, if it loads, it's called The Girl in the Mask. All right. The Girl in the Mask is a scary story about a young girl who asked her babysitter for ice cream. That doesn't make sense. There was a young girl named Holly. She just turned 6 years old. Apparently, her being 6 is very, very important to this story. One Halloween night, the parents decided to celebrate their wedding anniversary by going out to a nice restaurant for dinner. Because it was Halloween, they had some trouble finding a babysitter for their daughter. Eventually, they called one teen girl named Jessica.
Not that it does.
Who lived down the street and asked if she could babysit them. When Jessica arrived, the parents gave her their mobile number and told them to call if there was an emergency. After they left, the babysitter fixed Holly some dinner and then sat down on the sofa to watch TV. When Holly was finished, she asked, "Can I have dessert?" Jessica replied with, "Okay, what do you want?" "Ice cream," she said, smiling from ear to ear. The babysitter got up and searched through the fridge. You don't search the fridge for ice cream, do you?
I drew the fridge with Bubba's Brainsley.
Bubba's, Binkies. And the babysitter got up, checked the fridge, which is, you usually check the freezer, unless you have one of those fancy fridge freezers. I can't find ice cream. It's in the freezer in the basement, Holly said creepily. That's when you're all like, kid, no ice cream. Jessica opened the basement door and flicked the switch. The lights didn't turn on. That's where you walk away. She carefully made her way down the creaking steps of the basement, eventually found the freezer, lifted it, and found a tub of vanilla ice cream. She happened to glance out the window in the darkness, and she saw the little girl with blonde hair standing outside. The girl had a red t-shirt on and was standing with her back to the window. Just couldn't see her face. But she noticed that the girl was wearing something black on her head. The babysitter didn't pay attention. It was Halloween night. There were a lot of children wandering the neighborhood. She made her way back upstairs, put some ice cream in the bowl, placed it in front of Holly, and the girl made a face. "Can I have chocolate syrup?" "Okay, where's that?" "In the basement." Jessica made her way back down to the basement
Why'd you
and searched for the chocolate syrup. She glanced out the window. The girl was standing outside, but this time she was facing the window. Jessica saw that she was wearing an unusual mask. It was black with a red rim, and its mouth was covered with a large, sharp, white teeth. It was covered in large, sharp, white teeth. It gave Jessica the creeps. Okay. The babysitter retrieved the chocolate syrup, went back upstairs in the kitchen, poured some chocolate syrup on the ice cream. Thanks. Can I have sprinkles? She sighed. Let me guess. It's in the basement. And Holly replies with, yes. So the babysitter headed back down to the basement. And she went through the cabinets. And she looked out the window.
Cabinets aren't in the basement.
So, like, they have a pantry down there? Is that what I'm led to believe? Because it doesn't say that. It doesn't matter. Okay, so while she was going through the cabinets, she looked out the window again. There was a child. But this time, the child had a large knife in their hand. Jessica became uneasy when she tried to rationalize it. Perhaps it was part of the little girl's costume. However, it seemed very odd that a child's parent would allow that child to go around armed with a knife. Scared, she found the candy sprinkles, ran up the stairs, taking 2 steps by 2, anxious to get out of the basement. Thank you, she said, as the babysitter, I almost said babysitter, shook the candy sprinkles on her ice cream. All I need now is cherries. Jessica stared at Holly with irritation. Are you sure it's all you need? Because I don't want to go in the basement anymore. I promise. So the babysitter goes downstairs. I'm just going to continuously say Jessica because I'm tired of saying babysitter. Slowly went down the dark stairs, opened the cabinets, found the cherries. Looking out the window, she noticed there was no sign of that creepy girl in the mask. Jessica took a breath of relief. She was glad that girl was gone, but the whole situation began to freak her out. She picked up a package of cherries, climbed up the last stairs. She entered the kitchen. She was greeted by a horrifying sight. Holly laid face down in her bowl of ice cream. There was a pool of blood underneath the table. Oh my gosh. Jessica screamed, dropped the cherries, picked up the phone, ran to the bathroom, and dialed 911. She sat on the floor, frantic, desperately waiting for the police to arrive. After what seemed like an hour, she heard the alarms and the sound of the front door being broken down. A police officer's voice called out to her, and she unlocked the door. The police searched the home, but there was no trace of an intruder. A few minutes later, Holly's mother and father arrived again. They were horrified to find out that their daughter had been killed. The father sat on the steps, cradling himself in his hands. The mother went to Jessica and asked what happened. And the babysitter just said, I'm sorry, I was down in the basement, looked out the window. There was a girl in the mask. She had a knife. She was just standing outside the basement window. She must have killed Holly. But Jessica, that's impossible. There aren't any windows in the basement, only mirrors. Oh, that's creepy.
Let's open by watching it.
That's fine. That's creepy. If there's no... Okay, here's my question. If it was a mirror and Jessica kept going by it, she didn't see her own reflection and think anything? Just answer me that. How do you not know that's a mirror? Something had to have been mirrored down there. That kid was standing in plain sight. It obviously, if she was standing at an angle where she couldn't see herself in the mirror, I get that. But something in that basement had to have been mirrored back. Even if it's dark, in a mirror, you can see what's behind you. Or what's behind someone else. Like my dad has a mirror on his bureau. And when you're sitting to the edge of their bed, you can't really see yourself. But you can see mom's bureau in the darkness. And you can see someone standing there. Our dad was standing there one time. It scared us all half to death. Because we didn't know he was home yet.
Are you going to eat it?
No, I'm going to bring him back down to mom. But you can see something in the back. So that could have been prevented if she would have been like,
I'm just
that's
showing
weird.
you both of them.
And if there's a creepy girl outside a window, I'm going to go check the window. My job is to protect the child.
Did you hear me?
No.
I'm just gonna read them both and give it to mom to
Read one.
open.
No, just read one. Where's it open?
Right.
Oh, right down in the corner. And this is mine. Just read one. Okay, so that story kind of annoyed me. So
When the bedtime visit a dentist.
when is the best time to visit a dentist? Tooth hurty.
No.
Tooth hurty.
2:30. You all read these, have you?
No, mom told me that joke.
Let's
Oh, here's another problem I have with that. How did that child
there.
get upstairs before Jessica? And she not noticed because those are creaky basement stairs. They mentioned that a bunch of times. So
To mom now.
why wasn't Jessica all like creaky stairs? The stairs creaked. Even when she was going 2 by 2, you could still hear the creaks. All right, that story. Major problems with that. Just stories don't need to be logical. But when you put that much detail into it, you should kind of be consistent. If someone's running up the stairs, like the person had to have gone upstairs as Jessica was grabbing the cherries. Therefore, she would have heard someone running up the stairs and heard the creaking of them. And it would have been a fast-paced creak, too. Multiple creaks, because there's multiple stairs to a basement. Okay.
I have an idea.
That is like an upsetting story, because there was so much that she could have done to prevent that child from dying.
I have an idea.
Okay.
Every time you did a red and white, do my knees.
I don't like Starburst. Okay. It's loading another story.
What type of candy do you like then?
I have Skittles here. That's a TikTok.
Okay.
I'm waiting for this to load. So,
Maybe you didn't do these one by one if you did them white.
no. Okay, this one's called Sticky Notes. All right. This one should be okay. Let's be honest, I didn't like that last story.
Oh, you didn't read that one yet.
How do you know?
Because that's not up. Now you're reading
I'm
them.
reading the questions. Okay. Sticky Notes is a scary story about a girl who is home alone and keeps finding creepy messages that have been left for her all over the house. One evening, a teenage girl came home from school and found the house was empty. Her mother left a sticky note on the fridge for her, and it said, "Your father's working late." And it said her mother was out shopping with her younger brothers and was going to take them to soccer practice, so she would be home alone. The girl locked the front door just in case and then put her mobile phone on the hall table, hung her keys on the hook. You're tilting the bed towards me. You need to back up. And made her way upstairs to change. She was in her school uniform. As she was getting dressed, she saw there was a sticky note on her bed. She picked it up and looked at the message. It read there was someone in the house. She assumed it was her younger brother playing a trick on her. She crumpled the note, threw it away. "Okay, very funny," she said. "What happened? Did you two miss soccer practice?" No one answers. "Hey, I know you're here," she yelled. "If I find out you two went through my stuff, you are done." Classic teenage stuff, right? Siblings go through your stuff, they're done. I looked at her.
Right from movie.
What movie?
Okay. No. They were Bear Norman.
Oh, yeah. Norman, you better not be sneaking out, you little creep. Okay, I'm good. The girl went downstairs into the kitchen to fix herself a snack. She opened the refrigerator and discovered there was another sticky note. It said, "Nobody's here but you and me." She dropped the note and said, "Hey, guys, this isn't funny anymore. Stop it." So the girl went to the front door, tried the knob, but it was locked. She turned around to get her keys, but the hook they were hung on, they were gone. Then the girl glanced down the hall and saw that her mobile phone was gone too. And on the table was another sticky note. "You're not going anywhere." She screamed and picked up the phone and called the police. There was no dial tone. She grabbed the phone line and discovered that it had been cut. There was another sticky note lying there. No phone, no police, no way out. Afraid, she ran back to the door and she tried the handle but found it was also locked. Just then, she spotted another note. look up. She looked up and saw her pet cat speared through the heart and pinned to the ceiling with a kitchen knife. Oh, that's sick. She screamed in terror and ran to the nearest window. She tried to punch it and kick it, but she couldn't smash the glass. It wouldn't even crack. There was a sticky note on the window. You can't catch a break, can you? Here's my thing. If she locked the front door from the inside, why didn't she unlock the front door and run out? That's her own problem. Okay. Frightened, she desperately tried to think of a way to get out. She needed a knife to defend herself, so she ran to the kitchen, pulled out the drawer. It was empty, and all the knives were gone. In the place was a sticky note. Children shouldn't play with sharp objects. She ran upstairs to her bedroom, locked the door. She checked the closet, and under the bed there was nobody. She took a breath of relief, and then suddenly her television turned on by itself. It was loud static on the screen, and found another note. It read, "Now I have you here where I want you." The girl screamed in panic and started yelling for help. Just then, she remembered her laptop computer. She flipped it open, the lid, quickly and sent a message to a friend. "Help, this is not a joke. Call the cops. There's someone in the house." Minutes later, she heard the sirens outside. The police arrived, broke in. Two officers burst into her bedroom, found her cowering in the corner and shaking in fear. The police searched the entire house from top to bottom, every nook and cranny, but they found no one. As the officers were interviewing her, one of them spotted a sticky note attached to her back and pulled it off and handed it to her. And it read, "I was this close." So, here's something. One, she had a front door. Unlock that door. Run out the door. Take the chance the dude's there and you can kick him down. Two, how do you not feel someone put a sticky note on your back? Because you have to go like this.
No, one time we didn't know on your back, you didn't know it.
You put it in my hair, but it still felt it. And I was all like, what the heck? And it pulled my hair.
Oh.
And no one can get that close to you without you knowing. That doesn't make sense.
Ready?
How did the dude get in the house in the first place? Had to have gone in somehow. You can't tell me by chance they left the door unlocked and the guy just walked in. I'm not going to believe that for a second.
Okay, Boo. Need to tell you something. This is a question that I always ask you. Why did lunchtime speed by?
Why did lunchtime speed by?
Don't look here. Because it's fast food.
Because it's fast food. That's actually funny. Okay, so this story confuses me. One, it's a good story. I got nothing against it.
No one died.
But she had so many ways to get out of that house.
One thing died. One person died. That.
The cat died. Cats are people. Not what anyone says. Cats are people. Cats are family. How? The guy had to have gotten out of the house. She should have heard something.
Where is our cat? Peanut butter.
Oh, we let him outside. So, yeah. One, that don't make no sense. I don't get it. Oh, how could someone be that close to you and you not feel them put a sticky note on you? Had to have been on their back. Yeah, I just felt you touch my back. And you don't even have a sticky note. But that's Laffy Taffy. But you should be able to feel someone touch your back when they put a sticky note on you.
We have to.
If I was by a door and knew someone was in my house, I'm not going to check the back door. I'm unlocking that front door and getting my butt out of the house. That is common sense.
Why would you think you're one of us?
At this point, she knew it was someone else. The second her keys and her phone are gone and she can't hear her brothers laughing, since they're at practice and she knew someone else was in there, you walk out the front door and you go to a neighbor. They don't say that she was in the middle of nowhere, so she had means of getting out and getting someone to help her and not just text her friend. Oh my gosh. That one annoys me too. She's so stupid.
Why are we reading that one?
Did you read one already? Yeah, you read the lunchtime one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to read this story called Bobby. This one's been popping up all over this website, not app.
Oh, you smell it.
It's strawberry. This one's been pretty popular this year. This is a scary story about Halloween, about a girl who tries to bring back her son that drowned. And it is,
That's you.
she tries to bring him back with black
Hey, that-
magic.
Hey, that was in Why Not Tears.
It's based off a segment of a 1970s horror movie called Dead of Night. I have no idea what that is. So, there was a woman named Suzanne who lived in an old house on a cliff overlooking the sea. She was divorced from her husband, and she'd become deeply depressed ever since her son drowned. She was devastated by the loss, and she felt she couldn't go on. As time went by, she began reading books of black magic and Satanism. Two things you don't mess with. Get that out of the way. The more she read, the more she became immersed in the world of the occult. It was like an addiction. No. No. She came across a spell she could use to resurrect the dead, which you can't resurrect the dead even if you wanted to. One dark night, she drew a pentagram on her floor. Disgusting. Lighting black candles, and she stood in the middle at midnight, and she read the spell from the satanic book.
Say?
I'm not reading it.
Oh, okay.
I'm not reading that. If you want to read what the spell says, you guys read it. I'm not.
I'm not either.
I don't like that. Not doing it. Afterwards, she blew out the candles and she collapsed and began to cry. She heard a faint scratching on the front door. "Who's there?" she said. And in the silence, she heard a whisper saying, "Mom." And she goes, "Bobby, it's you." She hurried and brought him inside, put him in a towel, and tried to keep him warm. He was shaking from the cold. "I was lonely and desolate without
Wait,
you."
how old was you when you around?
Doesn't say. And his words were, "I remember the water, cold water, couldn't breathe. I woke up and remembered who I was, and I walked in the rain. And these people found me and they took me in. I didn't know if I was dead or alive." "Well, you're alive." "Was I a good boy, Mom?" "Yes, of course. Why? Do you love me?" "Yes." "Were you nice to me?" "Of course I was." But Bobby stared at her. It was a mean, angry stare, and there was a spiteful sneer on his face, and it frightened Suzanne. "I want to play a game." Hide and seek. All of a sudden, he raced up the stairs. All the lights in the house went out. "Bobby, what are you doing? Where are you?" There was no answer. "Bobby, you need to stop this. I want you to come right back here. Don't do this to me again. For the last time, what are you doing?" Then she heard the voice of the boy coming from the darkness. "Aren't you glad the lights are out? It makes the game more fun. You're going to hurt yourself in the dark." Suzanne walked up the stairs cautiously, feeling her way in the darkness. When she got to the top, she looked around, straining her eyes. "Bobby, you need to stop this now. You're making Mommy very angry." All in, the door burst open. Bobby was standing there, laughing like a maniac, and in his hand was a large, sharp knife in his hand. "Let's play hide and seek now." Susan recoiled in horror. Backing away, she tripped and tumbled down the stairs. When she got to the bottom, she looked up and saw her son coming down the stairs with the knife above his head. "You lied. Bobby didn't really drown by accident. You knew that. Bobby drowned himself. He couldn't stand the way you were treating him and got rid of himself just to get rid and away from you. Bobby didn't want to come back. Bobby hates you. And he didn't want to come back, so he sent me instead." And for one terrifying moment, Suzanne saw the face of the thing that had come back instead of Bobby. So it was a demon.
Oh.
That's what I'm led to believe.
I don't like that story. That sounds to me nightmares.
No, it's not. You'll be fine. I don't like stories about black magic and Satanism.
It's all black magic.
That's a song.
It's
That
all
song's not
black
bad.
magic.
I don't like that story, but that's my personal opinion. If any of you like the story, that's you.
I liked it.
I don't like that concept. And I don't like the fact the boy killed himself. That's freaking sad. How could you treat someone so bad? That story was supposed to be a good story. That's not a good
I
story.
thought you put it in din mode.
What? The video? No. All my videos say not for kids because
Like only for
Haven't
18
learned.
older.
no. That would have restriction mode on. I don't
Oh.
need that. Okay. So we're gonna read.
Oh, I had to read one of these
Oh.
first.
Just to do that first.
And when we're done reading like some of them, like when we have 10 more, I mean 1 more, no mind, we already have 1 more minute.
Okay, what?
10 more minutes.
What?
I wanted to read a funny story like on there.
They actually have funny, scary stories, which are actually kind of dumb.
Or read the same thing. What a Doctor favorite dance? Salsa!
So a taco's favorite dance is the salsa. That's actually really funny. Okay. This one's called Halloween Candy. I've read this one.
You never told me if I don't want to hear it that much.
It's not that scary, actually. Until you said you watched all my videos. You lied to me. You lied to me.
Is this a new one you did? Or old?
I did a little bit ago. Skittles are so chewy. Okay. So I'm just
We
going
thought this
to
thing.
tell you the basis of this story. So this guy tells you his story about what happened when he was giving candy out for trick-or-treaters. So when he was handing out candy, everything started to die down. You know, typical Halloween stuff. Kids trick-or-treat. Kids get done. Kids go home. So
I'm taking you a little bit of this Lappy Taffy.
And it was the middle of the night. These two kids come knocking on his door. They were smiling, but their teeth looked like they were too big for their mouth. And they're all like, "Hi." Well, I gotta look down and see what he said to them. They look like normal kids wearing closed minus the teeth situation. And they go, "What are you supposed to be? Some monsters?" And the kids, in retaliation, go, "No, we're just as humans tonight." So when he looked out the door, they looked like alienoid creatures, apparently. And then they kept pounding on the door. And the man, obviously, is frightened half to freaking death. But then it stopped. He looked out the door. No one was there. And apparently he never hands out candy again.
They're behind him.
Hey, peanut butter.
My people!
Kitty. Peanut butter, everyone. Say hello.
I really
cute.
do Lappy Taffy.
Do another joke.
Yeah, no more Lappy Taffy.
Okay. You sit here. Sit here, my friend.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna find their story.
89 to 90. What kind of leaves like to give high fives?
Palm trees.
You already read that one?
I read that one to Mom.
Oh.
All right. This one is called Halloween Props. So this is a story about a young man who crashes his car in a deserted area on All Hallows Eve, Halloween, and goes looking for help in an old.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I hate this word because I can't pronounce it. Telepid. Oh my word, an old rundown house. Basically what it is. I've looked up the word so many times to pronounce it and I still can't pronounce it. It's just one of those words. Okay, so minus that. Let's do this. So it was Halloween and Robert, which is the name of the man, was driving home from work, and every house he passed was decorated with Halloween props like carved pumpkins, plastic skeletons, black paper bats, witches on broomsticks. It reminded him of all the fun he had as a kid, going from house to house trick-or-treating. Distracted by all the Halloween decorations, he missed his turn and took the long way back to his house. The lights began to grow dim, and the road was filled with twists and turns. As he came around a sharp corner, his car skid, on some loose gravel. He lost control of his car, slid off the road, and plunged into a ditch. A few moments later, Robert was dazed and sat in his car trying to regain his sense. And after making sure he wasn't hurt, you would know if you're hurt. I'm gonna throw that out there. You're gonna know if you're hurt. Oh my gosh. The stories that don't make sense. So Robert checked his pockets and discovered to his dismay that he left his mobile phone at work. That should have been something you knew a while ago. But I'm going to admit, my dad forgets his phone a lot. So that's understandable. He waited a few minutes, but there were no cars that passed by, so he decided to walk. Mistake number 1. Walked in the same direction he was going. He should have walked back to where the houses were. That's smart number 1. All he came across was the old rundown building. And there were some letters that were hanging off the windows, and there was an eerie silence about the house. The only thing he could hear was the beating of his own heart and the whistle of the cold October wind. Every now and again...
You hear John Teaton?
Kind of. I don't think they did. I'm also complaining about a story. And every now and again, a weather vane on the roof creaked. Robert knocked on the front door for a few minutes, but when there was no answer, he gave up and tried another house. He noticed something unusual. On the other side of the house, there were some Halloween props and decorations. One of them was a rocking chair with a ragged scarecrow. Scarecrow.
Wait, Yellow Red Joy?
No, this is the same story. Was wearing a skeleton mask, and when he got closer, he noticed a putrid smell. That's when you turn around and you run. He stopped in his tracks, stared at the scarecrow, and noticed that something didn't look right. Between the clumps of straw, he noticed something that looked like human skin. This is where you turn around and run away. But no, does Robert do that? Nah. Wouldn't be a scary story if he did what you were supposed to. Beneath the straw was a dead body. The skin was purple, decomposing. He was still trying to recover from the shock when he heard footsteps coming to the house. "Who's there?" said a voice. An old man emerged from behind the house. As soon as he spotted Robert, he says, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" He trembled and said, there's a dead body. Pulling the straw, he revealed the face of an old woman. Millie! Millie, what happened? It's that man's wife. How do you not notice that? How do you not notice where your wife is?
I'm doing all the lobby top.
Okay. He turned to Robert and said, "Help me carry her inside." Robert didn't know what to do, so he helped the man and carried her and stay here while I call the police. But before Robert had a chance to reply, the old man hurried down the corridor. Robert stood there still shaking, staring at the dead woman lying on the floor. After what seemed like forever, he saw the phone. It was lying on the floor at the end of the corridor, and the line was ripped out of the wall. With a growing sense of unease, he cautiously explored the building. There was no sign of that old man. Robert began to panic, ran out the back door. He didn't know where he was going. He just kept running. Mistake number 2. 3, 4, I don't know what mistake this is. You don't run out someone's back door. You run out the front door. Get your caboose out the front door and run towards the other houses. Okay. That's just that's logic. If I'm in a house and an old man leaves me in his house, one, I'm not gonna go in that old man's house. Let's make that clear. I'm gonna turn my caboose around, run towards the actual houses that look like people actually inhabit the houses, and not a couple of rundown buildings and stay with a dead body. Tell the police when you're safely away from the houses. Okay. Robert began to panic, ran out the back door. Now, obviously, ran. After a half an hour, he came to a small general store that laid on the outside of the road. Bursting into the shop, he began to talk to this woman and asked her to call the police. She asked him what was wrong. He was so out of breath that he couldn't answer. Exhausted from running, he sat down on the floor and tried to calm himself down. When the police arrived, Robert told them what happened. He got back in the back of the patrol car and directed them to the old rundown houses. The police officers went to the house and spent 20 minutes searching from top to bottom. They didn't find anything. No dead body. No old man. The house had been vacant for years. The truck in the driveway had been abandoned almost a decade ago. Robert kept insisting there was a dead body. With his own eyes, he saw it. He gave a description of the old man, but they didn't believe him. A few days later, Robert went to the police and asked if they had come across the information. I'll go back to the beginning and figure it out.
Halloween candy too?
No, this is a different one. You already read the joke after Halloween candy.
No.
The police officer gave him a strange look. Actually, we did. We checked the property's records to see who owned the house. And then we did a little asking around. That's great. What did you find? Well, there was an old man who lived in the house. Seemed like he fit your description. And he had a wife, too. She disappeared. No one heard from her again. Some people suspected he murdered her and buried her in the yard. But there was never real evidence. Just a lot of loose talk and rumors that spread around the locals. Nothing concrete until now. Have you arrested him? Oh, we'd like to, but there's one problem. Oh, what's that? The police looked at him and was like, he died in 1963 on Halloween night. Yeah.
So I told.
Halloween props.
And by the way, I was talking because they said they were giving me some McDonald's, but they ate it all.
I don't care about that. Okay. One that actually makes sense. The guy being dead. That part makes sense.
Was it ready?
The dead body. I am not.
Why
sure.
shouldn't the lamb finish dinner?
Because he was stuffed.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe the scarecrow just really smelled bad. I can't imagine him imagining a dead body. But anything could happen.
I'm gonna say these ones.
It could have been from the fact that he plumaged into the ditch and he wasn't quite sure. Maybe he bumped his head and he was imagining crap. But the old man, that would all make sense. What if he just imagined all of it? And that was just coincidence. What did they call the girl born on the beach? Sandy. And why did the farmer yell at the grapes? Because it was being unreasonable. Okay.
Now that one I can why? Because.
All right. My back hurts. I'm waiting for that to load again.
7 minutes.
Yeah, 7 more minutes. It's been an hour, so I'm probably gonna read one more story.
Or we take an hour and a half.
No, an hour because it's almost 9:00, and you have bed.
At 9.
Okay, you'll find a scary story. I will be right back. I have to use this. Find a scary story.
I read it.
Here it is.
What about the doll lady? Found one! Say hi to Library. Oh, there you are. Good night.
Good night. Oh, good night, my love.
Want me to tell you what doll?
Maybe it has that one.
The doll baby.
The doll lady? Okay, move your booty. Move your booty. Oh, this one? I think I've read this one before, not on video. I thought this one was stupid.
Oh.
I'm 100% sure this is the one I think it is.
I picked another one.
No, we got this one. We got time for this last story. So, Ishkara, I'm going to call her Ishka. That's wrong, but it doesn't tell you where she's from. I don't know the origin of that name. Ishkara, we'll call her Ish, was the doll lady. Her village was small and was not very wealthy. There was fresh water and they had enough to eat, but they didn't have much else. The boys in the village had a few wooden toys, carts, horses, and soldiers carved by their fathers. Every girl had a beautiful doll. Ishkara, she made sure of that. Her husband had been a farmer and was the wealthiest man in the village until his heart gave out. She never had a child, but she loved children. She loved every child in the village as if they were her own. Each girl on their 6th birthday would present them with a beautiful doll. The dolls were of the best quality, purchased from a faraway town, and she lovingly made the clothes herself. The girls loved their dolls, and they loved her. It had been that way for many years, but it was not to stay that way. On her 6th birthday, little Claudia received her doll. It had a green dress and big glass eyes. She took it everywhere she went, as most of the girls did. Secretly, a week after her party, she was playing in the fields when Claudia collapsed. They carried her back to her parents as fast as they could. The doctor came and said she had a powerful and dangerous fever. He was not wrong, and within a few days, the fever claimed her life. Before the news of her death broke, Claudia's mother ran up to Ishkara's house and hurled the doll at the door. She screamed and wailed and shrieked at the woman. She said that doll had made her daughter ill, and that Ishkara, I still can't pronounce her name, had put a wicked curse on it. She opened the door and began crying. She was so upset at the accusation. Claudia's mother was led away by her husband. All the people in the village agreed that she had been overcome with grief and had taken out her anger on Ishkara. But people began to notice that some of the adults were less friendly towards her. From then on, despite that, they told everyone about it. A few months passed, and her sister Nikita, her birthday approached, and Ishkara had not been seen for a few days. And when her sister's birthday came, they knew why. Oh, I see why. Ishkara presented her with the most beautiful doll they had ever seen. It had huge blue eyes, and she had made an elaborate blue gown for it. It seemed that she wanted to allay the fears of the village, and to show that she was a good person, the doll that she had spent so much time and effort on was her way of proving it. Exactly 2 weeks after her birthday, the sister Nikita died of a fever. The father nearly went mad with grief. For 2 full days, he sat indoors, just holding Nikita's doll and crying. Then he went to Ishkara. It was like watching Claudia's mother all over again. The father swore at her and smashed the doll against her, screaming she was a witch and she had cursed the dolls and made Nikita die. And when she tried to protest her innocence, it fell on deaf ears. After a few minutes, the father was dragged away by the doctor, and Ishkara went back into her house just before. But this time, however, it didn't end there. One by one, the villagers came and put the dolls Ishkara had given them on her doorstep. They remember seeing them all sit there in a pile. 20 years worth of gifts all went back. And she never took them inside. But they were gone the next day. Good commercials keep popping up. She never left her house again. And sometimes people caught the sight of her face in the window as she stared at the children playing outside, and her face had become pale and her eyes were wide and red from crying. She looked very, very mad, like she was crazy. Actually, no one saw her face anymore, and the doll lady had been all but forgotten. The years passed. People left the village. Some people just remember seeing her red eyes and felt sorry for her. They never really believed that she had meant to hurt anyone. Although people thought it was just a coincidence that she had been unfairly accused by superstitious townfolk searching for something to blame everything on. One summer, a person received a letter from their father. The village was all dried up, and all there were people, and they were abandoning the village to move to a nearby town. When they went back to help their father move things, to see the village one last time, they looked over at Iskra's house. There was a hole in the roof, and the windows were cracked and broken. And they asked their father what had become of her. He said he didn't know. He didn't care. She hadn't been seen since the day they watched her staring from the window all those years ago. They wondered if she was dead. Did they bury her remains in the house? Unburied? Nobody knew. It was a strange sense of sadness, loss. So, yes. So when the sun was setting, that's where I'm going to start this from. And the light began to fade. They set off towards her house. The father was calling them to stop, but there was no point in going inside. But they didn't listen to him. And what happened? Perhaps they even buried her remains. If necessary, they felt a responsibility that someone should have defended her when she was accused of this disease. But who would have listened to her? They were just a child. But the door was open, and with a firm push, it was quite dark inside. Yes, it's a long story. They could only make out a layer of dust and cobwebs covering everything. There was a faint smell of rotten meat. But besides some chairs and a stove, there was nothing of interest. The smell became stronger as they climbed the stairs, and they began to feel scared. As they approached the dust-covered bed, there was almost a certainty where her remains were. She had fallen ill and died in bed, just as Clavia and Nikita had. She was sure of it. But as they approached the bed, it became obvious that there was an empty sheet were folded neatly on top. There was no sign of her. Perhaps she'd left the village. Maybe she'd snuck out one night while no one was watching. As she turned to go back downstairs, she noticed the ladder leading to the attic, looked up, and crawled through the trap door. Tested the ladder, made sure it was sturdy, climbed up. The trap door opened easily. The smell was much worse. The last rays of daylight were shining through, and as she looked around, she could make out small faces dotted around the attic. But after a moment, she realized, of course, they belonged to the dolls. All the dolls she had ever made were stored in there. As they walked through the room, she could see them clearly now. The years had been kind to them. They were nice, not very damaged. Their dresses were stained by the rain, though. They began to feel scared once again. They took a few steps into the room and saw something move in the corner of their eye. But there was nothing. As they took a step further, they heard a voice whisper and became very frightened. They decided to leave the house and go back to the father. As they went back to the ladder, they startled to see Iskra standing in front of her. She was rotting like a corpse with the red eyes. She screamed in their face, and that shook them to the core. As they screamed and scrambled past her down the ladder, and as they ran from the house, all they could hear was her giggling. When she ran back to the cart with her father and he asked what happened, They nearly choked on their words from the fear and could barely talk. When they left the village, they didn't look back. After an hour, they were still shaken, and after the hour after that, they could still smell the stench of rotting flesh. Eventually, managing to tell the father, he said that was Ishkur's punishment for killing the children, to be trapped between life and death. They remained unconvinced, but could still hear the mad laughter every once in a while, and wondered if she had been driven mad by the false accusations. She had cheated death in order to someday wreak revenge on the ones that wronged her. Or perhaps she became paranoid and foolish as those who accused her of giving cursed toys away all those years ago. All they knew was for sure that they saw her with their own eyes. A creature that should have been dead, but was very much alive. Now that they're grown and have children of their own, they don't let them play with dolls.
Oh, you died.
All right. One, it had to have been a sad coincidence that those children died. You should not blame other people for sickness because it's not really their fault. It's a coincidence. And it's not like there was any proof she was a witch or a crazy woman. She was just an older woman that everyone accused of death when she probably didn't even do anything. It was a coincidence they got the doll and got sick. They probably just got a disease that they couldn't overcome. That doesn't make it that woman's fault. 2, they could have driven her to paranoia. Okay. And with her being paranoid, that makes total sense. Leaving the dolls in the attic. 1, it's super creepy. But it would make sense. She wouldn't want to be reminded of that stuff. So, yeah. That's just people being ignorant and wanting something to blame on someone else when you really can't blame anyone for that because it's not really their fault. If someone gets sick, you can't blame them. Okay, so we're going to end this video with these 2 jokes. What is a vampire's favorite fruit?
Blood orange.
Yeah, blood orange.
Oh.
Where should you never take your dog shopping?
The mall?
The flea market. All right. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!